Today we are taking a look at an absolutely kitted out Tacoma, and I have my buddy Aleem over here who's gonna walk us through it. So dude, this is your truck. You bought it new. You've done all of the work modifying this, and clearly you get it off-road. So tell me about this. What got you into a Tacoma, and what do you use it for?
So I'm kind of guilty of following Top Gear. So seeing them with what they did with that Hilux and them basically having a reputation for being completely indestructible. That's what, sold me on the Tacoma. I mean, I was looking at the Colorado and a few others. I just couldn't get over this blue.
Yeah, and also for what you've done with it, I mean, there's a huge aftermarket community, a lot of options for you to modify the vehicle, make it even more capable, which we'll get into momentarily. But
sure.
What did you have before the Tacoma?
I had a little Subaru Impreza. I used to have a Acura Legend years ago.
Okay,
got
that's
the
pretty
Impreza
cool.
For just the convenience of it, and I needed something to get around for school. And then once I got here to Colorado, got snowed in, decided I needed something to be able to get out of the driveway. So
yeah.
Figured, we'll go small and get a Tacoma.
So you made sure that you were never going to get stuck again.
Yep.
And a lot of that comes down to some of the additions here. I mean, already Tacoma is a great off-road truck, and then you start adding things that make it even more capable. So let's start at the front, checking out this bumper. What brand is this?
So this is a company called Bay Area Metal Fab out of San Francisco. I had them actually ship it to me raw. Then I coated it with Steel It so that I could touch it up easier.
Right.
Reason I went with them is the departure angle, or the approach angle is about the same with most of these bumpers these days. But I love the tube style.
Yeah.
And then the winch cradle is big enough that I can house a 12K winch.
Nice.
And then the big thing for me was this bit right here. Is they have this reinforcement that actually reinforces the attachment to the frame.
Right.
So it sandwiches the bumper between the frame and the bumper itself, and just gives you more strength, so you don't have someone ripping off your bumper when you're trying to recover them.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying. I mean, the tube style bumper, this is nice because a lot of steel bumpers look really chunky. They extend a lot further than the front of the truck, and this has a nice, light, more sporty kind of look to it, which is good on a smaller truck. You don't want a giant, chunky cleft chin hanging out on your truck. So that's really nice. And like you were saying too, the fact that you painted it and made it easier to touch up is great, because as tough as powder coating is, when it does crack, it's not the kind of thing that you can very easily touch up. Well,
and I figured, so far I haven't hit it against anything. I might have nicked something during our trip to Death Valley recently, but for the most part, I wanted everything to be something that I could easily fix. Right. And keep it looking the way I want it to look, or keep it from rusting.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's check out suspension underneath here. It looks like you've done control arms, springs, obviously shocks. What is the setup in here?
So I've got SPC upper control arms mounted to the stock knuckle. That's going to get replaced relatively soon. Got Fox 2.5 reservoir coilovers with dual speed compression adjusters.
Nice. And what is the difference between this and stock when you're actually wheeling it? Is it noticeably softer?
Well, the nice thing about having the compression adjusters is I can take it from being full rigid like it's a road car to being full soft where a pebble will make the suspension compress.
Right.
And so, well, not maybe that drastic, but it really makes it even out, so I can be bombing down a road 40-50 miles an hour and be perfectly fine, or going through some of the really rocky stuff and have the compression be nice and smooth.
Do you change the settings often, or do you mostly set it and forget it?
For the most part, it's set and forget. Mostly I leave the slow speed compression the same all the time. The high speed compression I adjust every once in a while depending on what I'm doing.
Right.
If I'm doing some really tough wheeling where I'm worried about, big compression hits, then I'll dial up the high speed. But normally I have that at full soft. Nice.
And I noticed too, you've got a lot of RCI components. You've got these steps here that I'm sure double as
they're sliders.
Sliders.
Yep. So they're 5-degree sliders. I was originally going to go with the 20-degree, but my wife wanted something she could actually step up into the truck with. And then also for the dogs getting into the back seat. And then I've got front skids all the way back to the...
I saw it over the diff and the fuel tank.
Over the diff. So the diff's a steel a steel skid, and then I've got aluminum everywhere else because I'm trying to keep this relatively light because I don't want, I mean, the engine can be a little anemic at times.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to weigh it down
altitude.
too much. Absolutely, yeah. Down at lower elevations is not a problem though.
And before we move too far back
Sure.
on the truck, I want to point out these ambers, especially, I mean, I love ambers on any vehicle, but especially with this blue, that's a cool combo.
It pops.
That looks good.
And it has the added benefit of turning the truck green when I'm running them.
Really?
Yeah.
At night?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. And I see that you've got a pretty beefy roof rack here too, with some Max Tracks, but these are not from Max Tracks,
those
right?
are Action Tracks. The roof rack is from Sherpa, company out here in Berthoud. Action Tracks is a company out of Kansas City. They've served me well. Their customer service has been impeccable.
Nice. And then, of course, moving back, you've got the Smart Cap, which is a really nice construction on this too, and then your rooftop tent. So what is the setup here? How'd you select this over any other kind of top or tent? What drew you to these specific options?
I like the industrial look of it. That's a big part of it. As much as I'd like to say it was all function, there's definitely some form there. The other part is that because it was flat pack shipped to my house and I was able to put it together myself, it did save some on the cost of this versus RLD. And then the fact that it's built in sections, if I damage a section, I can just ring up Smart Cap and they'll send me a new panel.
Right.
So if I damage the side, this wing door, they'll send me a new wing door.
And you were saying too that this is part of one of their first batches, and this right here with this gasket is kind of one of the issues with the earlier units.
That's my understanding, at least. So I haven't had a chance to reach out to them just yet because that only happened recently.
Right.
But if I were to do that, then I just have to take it off the truck, replace that one section, put it back together, and it's brand spanking new.
What I love too is that you can open up this side panel.
Yeah.
And then you've got a bunch of storage here.
Yeah. So opening this up, right now I've got some of my recovery gear.
Yeah.
Just mounted to this molly panel right here with some twist ties, and then some camping gear on the other side that I use for cooking and filling up water.
I like the usefulness of this because there's a lot of solutions like drawers that slide out of trucks, but then you have to go back, you have to open the back of the topper, you have to open the tailgate, you have to slide it out. This, I mean, like you saw, it took you
half a second
to open this up, and then your recovery gear is right there. And then it's out of the way, so you have the full height of the bed. So this seems like a really useful setup.
Oh yeah, I love it. And then having the eyelets on top, I actually strap things up to the top of it. So I have even more space than you would normally have. Also makes it easier to organize things, so when we're going on long trips, then everything has its place.
And then I noticed around the back, you've still got factory bumper, but you do have this little addition here, basically a plate to slide on so that you're not beating up your hitch itself. And then, of course, you've got a recovery point here built into it. Mm-hmm. Would you have any plans of trying to go to a steel bumper on the back, or are you happy with this setup?
We will eventually be going to a high clearance bumper on the back. I have yet to need it. So my entire approach with building this truck, for the most part, has been, if I damage something, then I'll replace it, upgrade it. As of right now, I only have the one corner damage. And that's actually just my fault for backing into a buddy while we're on trail.
Right. Yeah, it can get hard to keep track of everything that's going on when you're out there on the trail. It can be a little stimulating.
Yeah, we were on Hell's Revenge, and he was still going forward. I was trying to get out of the way of a tow truck, and I didn't pay attention to him. I paid attention to the guys on the left side.
Counts as trail damage.
Yeah.
Do you have any cool additions going on interior?
Interiorly, there's not too much going on. Back seats are box standard. We normally have a little thing for our dog back there. In here, we've got
mounts.
A mount from 67 Designs for my phone, so I use that for navigation, and then for the radio. Got a Midland 275, forget what the exact number is, 275 something, that I use for GMRS comms.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what. Our back course right now is completely rutted out and destroyed because Tommy and David have just been going at it nonstop, and we don't have a good way to recover right now. But we can still get a couple cool action shots of your truck going through the pit course here. And why don't we show a couple action shots and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Sweet. Let's see how it does. Easy. It's like a Sunday drive.
Yeah.
Just cruising. So that's the amazing thing about the Tacoma is even with the rooftop tent. Oh yeah. Even with some heavier gear like the steel bumpers, I mean, these are pretty unstoppable off-roaders even out of the box.
Oh yeah, off-road it's really, really, really capable. It's just the fuel economy's awful.
Yeah, and the fuel economy doesn't get any better when you're at altitude and you have to use the throttle that much more aggressively to get up the side of a mountain.
No, not at all.
So let's roll up on these logs here and feel a little bit of how the suspension takes on impacts, because that's one of the nicest components that's on this truck.
Oh yeah.
Of course, everything traction. I think that's the fastest any of us have ever gone up those logs, and that's about as smooth as that's going to get.
Oh, I can soften it up and I'll go even smoother. Right now it's on about 60%.
More like in your street setting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever thought about going to a bigger tire setup, or are you pretty happy?
So these happen because the stock tires on the Tacoma are god awful.
Right.
I tore them after 1,200 miles. Two sidewall tears. And
then on the right side here is going to be the slightly more challenging.
The right. Okay, I'm gonna just whip around and get lined up for it then.
So you said you had punctures pretty quickly on the factory tires?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, the factory tires, even on the TRD Pro, they're set up a lot more for fuel economy than being an aggressive off-road tire. Yeah. I mean, there's no way that you can really spec it from the factory to have what this truck can take advantage of.
Oh yeah. And I mean, so in order to go up a bigger size than what I have right now, so I'm at a 265/75/16. Right. Which is one larger. So you said to the left or right?
To the right.
Okay. Oh, I was on. Sorry.
No worries. So you're pretty happy with the diameter that's on here?
For now, I'm gonna wear these out.
It's like a mountain goat. Oh, it's all good. And then at some point you said you were planning to do a supercharger?
I would like to.
It'd be cool.
It's more of a question if I can convince my wife.
Yeah, because the supercharger kit is not inexpensive.
Oh, I should probably be in the lower gear.
Yeah, especially those low speed impacts. It's amazing how smoothly.
Just go ahead and make sure I don't hit your bag. Okay.
So these trenches here are a good test of a four-wheel drive system, which, I mean, as we all know, Tacoma has a fantastic four-wheel drive system. Yeah, this is no problem at all.
Yeah, I was surprised when we did Kelly Flats, I didn't lift the tire at all.
So overall, you're pretty happy with this rig?
I love this truck.
Is there anything about it that you wish was a little different? Anything you would change?
I mean, mostly the power.
Yeah.
I would like to have a little bit more power, but, you know, it's a truck. It keeps me from getting a lot of tickets right now, so
it's probably for the best.
I can't complain about that.
So Aleem, this is a kick-ass build. I mean, this can do anything that you want to do, go anywhere that you want to go. And obviously there's some really nice components on here. So on top of the cost of the truck, round about how much do you think you have in modifications?
Most of it's probably in the suspension and that smart cap. So probably right around 12 to 15,000 all in.
Yeah, which is not too bad. And a big part of it helping with that cost is that you've actually gone and done the work yourself rather than paying a shop to do it, which can get really expensive really quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's all for this video. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And if you want to see some more off-road videos with this truck, then when our course gets fixed up a little bit in some better shape, maybe we can have Aleem back and do some harder running.